Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being present and for being here today on the 7th of May, 2021, for another staff update series, number 4, actually, where we're going to take a look at the improvements and changes that will be coming to the building for the project on level -1, which we know as the basement, and on level 0. We're only doing these 2 floors for now, and then the idea is that during the next session we'll come with the other floors. I want to thank everybody for being here. Feel free to share the link, share the presentation, remind your colleagues and friends that we've started. The meeting is being recorded, so we'll be able to send this out to you via all staff email and via Yammer. And in case you missed it and in case you want to play it back over. Yeah. So at this point, we'll get started. Just a few housekeeping rules. We want to remind you that the call is being recorded. So be mindful of that. We'll also be able to take pictures and photographs from the call for marketing purposes, etc. Feel free to have your mics muted, but you can, of course, send messages and questions in the chat, and after the end of the presentation, then we'll be able to handle those questions accordingly. Also want to introduce the team on the call this morning. From the PMU, at least, we have, I'll go in order from what I've seen on my screen. We have Ms. Michelle McNaught. She's our social environment and environmental specialist. We also have Myrto Brill, of course, the project director. And then, who else am I seeing here? Luvani is also on the call. And yeah, I think that's it for the team that's on the call this morning. The objectives. So of course, our objectives is to ensure that we have great stakeholder engagement. We want to keep stakeholders, in this case, you, the staff, updated and engaged throughout the project, updating you and informing you on the progress. Of course, you've either been a part of the videos or been a part of the sessions in the past, where you were able to see some of the previous updates that we provided. So that's our duty in terms of keeping you informed and updated. Also wanted to provide context and background to the project. Some people may hear about the project but don't know exactly what the project is. So in these series, we try our best to inform you and let you know exactly what's happening, what's to be expected. And as I mentioned, this is how, and also get your feedback as well. We also wanted to highlight, in this case, this is what we're doing this time around, especially highlighting some of the upcoming improvements so you're aware and you're informed in advance. We also want to, of course, create ambassadors. We want to be able to share this information with you, and you in turn share this information with your fellow colleagues, friends, and the general public, actually. And for today's topic specifically, as I mentioned, and as you saw on the slide, we'll be looking at we'll be informing you and preparing you for the upcoming improvements. That's going to be in the basement, level -1, and on level 0. It may sound like a little bit, but actually when we go through the list of changes, I challenge you to keep track of all the changes so that we know how much changes exactly there are at the end of the call. As I mentioned before, this is definitely not a one-time thing.
Is that
have this?
Is that a quiz?
Yeah, I think that's the quiz. That's the challenge for today. Asking
who can keep track of all the changes.
Yes.
What's the prize?
The prize is they get to be the ambassador. Or we look for a fitting prize after. So as I mentioned previously, the idea is that we'll continue doing this series. And so today we're doing a virtual session. So we're virtually walking you through all the changes on level -1 and level 0. And then on May the 19th, we'll be inviting you to the building, you, the staff, to the building so that we can physically do the tour and see the actual locations, because some persons are a bit more visual than others. So you get the information session today, and then on the 19th, we'll invite you down to do the actual tour of the building. Then on June the 2nd, we'll do another info session that's going to be on level 1 and level 2. So that's going to be a similar session as we're doing today. And then on the 9th of June, so a week after, we're going to invite you down again to do the tour of level 1 and level 2. Yeah? And then some other upcoming topics that we can talk about or that we have planned is environmental and social safeguards. I'll explain you a bit more about that. That's in an upcoming session that will be after the June 9th session. But this is the upcoming schedule that we have planned out for you. And of course, things can be adjusted according to how things go, but this is at least the schedule that we have planned. Yeah. We want to also remind you to share, give your input, and that's one of the main reasons that we're having these sessions. One of the main reasons why we want to engage with you, want to interact with you, especially in this platform. Again, this is strictly for staff, so that we're keeping the staff informed and aware as to what's happening and what's expected. Now, we're going to go over a list of the upgrades and improvements. And we have these listed in a few different categories. First of all, we start off with the concessionaires. And we start off with the concessionaires. In no particular order, we start in this case with the concessionaires, and the upgrades and improvements that we have here is that for the concessionaires, there'll be additional concession space locations, both airside and landside. We'll point those out to you today as well. Sorry, at least some of them. There's also a possibility for airport canteen specifically for the airport. Sorry, a canteen specifically for the airport community. Those are conversations that we're having as well. There's going to be also more food and beverage areas. For the upgrade, in terms of general upgrades for the building, we have, Anita, you were going to say something? In terms of general updates that we have, we, of course, strengthen the roof. So the roof is now graded to 185 miles per hour winds. We also enhance the entry doors. You'll see a picture of those already. The terrazzo floors, we'll map that out as well, so you get an overview of what that looks like. We also have an upgraded building management system, and in general, we'll be making better use of the floor space. Those are some of the changes that you'll be able to see here today as well. In terms of the passengers, we'll have escalators at all the jet bridges. We'll have also more check-in kiosks, a more upgraded check-in kiosk. We'll also have, which is one of the major improvements, I believe, is the self-service bag drops. So after passengers check in online, they can come to the airport and just drop their bags at one of the self-service bag drop stations. and not have to go to a counter to actually drop off their bags. I think that's one of the big improvements. This is something that we've seen across major airports in the world, and I'm very happy that we're able to implement that here as well. And of course, somebody had a question?
Yeah, just a question from Z. I just was wondering if we had ever explored curbside check-in.
This is something I personally was looking at, and I think the last update we had was that we'll make provisions available, and then, yeah, we'll make the provisions available, and at the time, we'll see how the needs for it as we progress. Yeah?
Thank you.
The airlines, in terms of the airlines, we have the new check-in counter designs. As you'll see, if you saw in one of the previous videos or one of the previous sessions, the check-in counters have been redesigned. They're now pull open, similar to a door where you're able to open and then step in and then close the counter behind you. You no longer have to step up onto the counters. There's also more office spaces. That's for airline office spaces, but airport will also have more office spaces available as well. There'll also be new elevator to the offices on the higher levels, that's level 2 in particular. We'll show you exactly where that elevator will come. Additional cafeteria. The cafeteria will also be redesigned to be more capable to accommodate our functions that we have. That's not going to be covered in this session because, again, we're only sticking to the ground floor and the basement for this session, but in our follow-up session on the 2nd of June, we'll be getting into level 1 and level 2. So that's where we're going to cover that. And again, airline baggage service office. That's something that we will cover today. The immigration counters are also going to be redone. The relocation of the immigration after security screening, that's exactly how it is now, where you're going to pass through immigration first, and then, you're going to pass through security screening first, and then the immigration officers on departure. And then the car rentals area will also be relocated. And I think that's something you may have seen already, but of course we'll cover it now in today's session as well as it falls on the ground floor. So we'll start off with the level -1, which is, again, what we call the basement. And so in the basement, one of the major changes here is the upgraded scanning device. Yeah. Keep it very general. The baggage system, the baggage screening system on departure for the baggage belt system, it will be upgraded and will have much better scanning technology compared to the technology that we had in the past. Yeah. Then we go to level.
Go back to the ground floor, and I'm seeing Justin there. Justin, explain what's going on in the tunnel. Joe. Yes, Joe don't have his mic on today. One of the things that I wanted to point out in the tunnel, we always having some issues that when we have an overflood, flooding in the basement, that the water stays in the middle of the tunnel. What we have created is a trench in the middle so that all the water now drains to the both pumps on both sides of the tunnel. That's an issue that we saw when we had first constructed the basement, that it was not level and everything fell in the middle. Now it's going to be able to drain to the both ends of the tunnel at that point. If you look good, maybe we can point up where the utility tunnel is.
Yes. So the utility, this is the length of the utility corridor.
Correct. And that was something that Justin wanted us to ensure that we had put into the project. as well as in the tunnel, a lot of the piping is also going to be replaced from Schedule 40 to Schedule 80, because Justin always had a lot of issues with pressure of the pump system, that there was always small cracks and leaks, which created those damp areas in the basement. Those will be adjusted with us putting in the Schedule 80 pipes at that point. Justin didn't jump in there, so I guess I said everything correctly that he wanted. There's also going to be some bypasses in the piping system in the basement, in case we need to shut down one system, one area for us to be able to work on the water, that it does not hamper the other places in the building to also have water. So a bypass is also going to be put on in the basement that will allow different zones to be turned off without hampering the main, the flow of water through the facility.
Yeah.
Good.
I think that covers all the changes to. You want to talk also about the baggage chutes?
The bed system itself has been upgraded, but as you can see, it's a different design. The curves on the belts were put in there for us to be able to allow baggage that is up to a meter long to also go through the system. So like golf clubs, those in their bags will be able to go through the system instead of us having to walk them around. As well as instead of pushers that would push the bags from one belt to the other, we're going to have something called a vertisorter, which will easily allow the bags to transition from one particular belt to the other without having to damage anything in the bags. Those were some of the challenges we had with the older system that we were using, and those are going to be modified in this particular session. All right.
Perfect. Perfect. And now we're gonna jump up to level 0. We'll start here with a good overview, and then we'll start to zoom into some of these areas, some of the more particular areas, so you can get a better view of what's happening in these particular locations. So this is the view from the west check-in side west. So you're seeing the double doors. So there's going to be a door here, reinforced door frame, and the design. And then on the outside, of course, of the building, there'll be another door frame as well. This allows us to have better control of the HVAC system as well, so less cool air leaks out of the building. Same for these doors. This is an impression of some of the advertisement signage. You see up here some of the FIDs. Over in the far mid here, you're seeing the elevator that takes you up to level 2. Takes the airline agents up to level 2 to the offices on level 2. You're also seeing here the redesigned counters. We have a better picture of that later as well. And here in the middle, you're looking at one of the impressions, or one of the impressions and renderings of the kiosk and baggage drop stations. So this is over at the west end. I think that's all of the major changes we're seeing here. Of course, the scales are also redone. So you see the scales are also slightly lower than what we had. And in general, the space is also redesigned now with wood type ceiling as well, covering the overhead screens of the counters. Yeah.
For any of the technical persons, if we go back to that, anytime we had an issue with any of the monitors where the baffled screens are, we always needed to take that down to be able to get to the components, especially UPSs and stuff that was all stored in the ceiling. We are now putting in a central UPS. so that all the screens will be fed from one UPS and we do not have to go into the ceiling to make those kind of changes anymore. The scales will also be on a central UPS as well. Good?
Yeah. I hope you guys are keeping track of all the changes so far that we mentioned. Then, jump back here. This one is level 0. So we talked about the terrazzo flooring, and this is the general design that we've outlined for the terrazzo flooring. One of the benefits of terrazzo is that it allows you to use different types of mixtures to give a nice design, different types of design. It allows you to be much more flexible than tile. Again, also terrazzo is much more durable than the tile. Mito, you were going to say something?
No.
Okay. So this is the general overview that we have. Of course, it's a nice flowing design. It gives you a nice, and then you see the design flows from one end all the way over to the other, both on the departure side and on the check-in side. Moving along, we're looking at the check-in kiosk here. This is one rendering of what the check-in kiosk was looking like, would look like. Down in the middle here, you're seeing the baggage drops, but we've since upgraded this so that the baggage drops are all now located along the wall here in the back. Some more check-in kiosks here in the middle as well. Yeah. You also look at the flooring. You'll see how we have the flooring mix. Here you see the more blue, and here in the middle and on the right side, you see a bit more beige or tan or cream color. Moving along again, a bit closer to the escalator and stairs to take you to level 1. We're having a better look at the elevator. It takes the airline agents to level 2. We also changed and updated the layout for the ADF booth and that was the ADF and the flight information office. Those offices have been redesigned as well. And then the idea is that across from ADF, we'll have the new location for the ATMs, for the ATM machines. Yeah, I think that's all the changes here. Of course, the electronic boarding or the electronic check gates will also be returning. And one change, you may not be able to see it here so well, but another change that we're having here is that we used to have the door for the disabled on the left side of the stairs and escalator. We're now moving that over to the right side. So that's going to come on in this general area here. So the person manning this booth will have a better view of who's coming in into the location and have them better checked. Yeah. We're moving over to the meet and greet area. I think you've all seen this rendering already, or similar rendering of the car rental space after passengers exit the customs area. They're coming out into the car rental space before they exit into the general meet and greet area. That's one of the major changes that we have here. Something you're not able to see in this drawing per se is the elevator that was in this general location here along the wall here along the far end of the screen, that elevator will be removed. Yeah. And then we have the meet and greet area again from a different angle. The meet and greet area will now have a concession space because the car rentals will now be moved into the space on the exit. We'll now have space available for meet and greet area. Again, reinforced doors. The bathroom entrance entry locations will also be redone and redesigned to more of a mosaic type of design. The airport reception location will of course return. In the roof, you're seeing artist impression of some of the designs that we'll have in the roof as well. And I think this covers most of the changes, at least in this location. And then the last location, this gives you a better overview of what the restrooms will look like. So the restrooms on level on level 0 will have a more blue tint. And on level 1, the restrooms will have a more teal turquoise tint. Yeah. And then this would be an idea of what the inside of the restroom, the interior would look like on level 1 and on level 0.
And if we stay there, Damien, this is again, I see Justin on board, but he doesn't want to unmute his mic. In a lot of discussion with facility maintenance, they also recommended the way how the fixtures in the restroom were supposed to be laid out. We are now going to go by the sink. You have your water faucet, you have your soap dispenser, and you also have a hand dryer. So everything will be in one location because we also face the challenges in the old design where the hand dryer was on the other side of the room. So as you wash your hands, you walk across the room to dry your hands, basically the whole floor is wet and it always made it look very untidy. So by putting everything into one location, it now facilitates that everything stays dry on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is, again, an image of what the restrooms will look like on level 0 and on level 1. The different distinctions in colors also help passengers and other visitors and staff actually also to identify where you're at. Okay, so these are some of the changes that we have in terms of that we have with renderings. And now we're going to take a closer look. Let me know if you're seeing my screen. If I drag this over, we're going to take a closer deep dive into some of these locations so that we can zoom in on some of these changes. You guys are seeing my screen still or still seeing the same thing?
We're seeing a presentation.
Oh, okay, let me stop that. And share screen. Yeah. Should be seeing a PDF now?
Yeah, the PDF is up now.
Perfect. So this is the same level 0. And you see all these notes here is all the points that we have to get through. So bear with me, I'll try to rush through these as soon as possible. But of course, you'll be able to ask questions at the end. Yeah, we'll start on the far left over by the B gates. Rather fair update here. I'm going to change that. I'm going to start on the check-in side first, and then we come over to the departure and security side. So we're going to start on the far left. We're zooming in to this location where the former security office was, and you'll see that the security office is now completely redone with security offices for all the different section heads.
Zoom in a little bit more.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah. So all the with offices for all the section heads and the security management. When we go
So what you remind them there is the main office for security is no longer in this area.
Correct. I forgot to mention that. The main office, security's main office, is now moved over to this location, and we'll get to that in just a bit. I just wanted to point it out first that this security screening for employee screening area, that has also been redone. You used to be able to walk in past the stairs and take a right and go through the security employee screening area. That area is now redone. You used to have to walk this side and pass through the screening booth, etc., and then squeeze back out to go through the door. Now the security screening is now on the opposite side, so now you're walking basically straight and then go through the door. This gives security a lot more space in this area as well, and they have now better control of who goes down the stairs in the basement. Behind the stairs, if you remember correctly.
Damien, one of the reasons we were able to create all that space is the pump room that we had in the back. We are no longer using that area, so we have expanded it and give that space to the security as well, so they have more floor space to be able to maneuver in that location.
Yeah. Another major change here is that the entrance to these stairs will also be redone. I think you used to have to enter these stairs from this angle. So you have to come around and then go up the stairs. So that's going to be redone where you enter from this location to then get up the stairs. Yeah. We also have now this is the west bathroom stalls. And we also now have, importantly, a main shaft to be able to handle any changes and modifications and repairs that need to be done to the bathrooms. Moving over, I'll zoom out just a bit so you can see again where we are in case you missed it. So now we're still over to the east where security used to be, down by the bathrooms, etc. We're zooming in again. So now the main the main office for security will now be next to the check-in counters. If you remember correctly, we had actually check-in counters all the way here. So those check-in counters, because of the new kiosks and the new technology, we needed less check-in counters. So we're now able to use that space for the main security office, which will be here, and the main security office for the passes. So when you need to get a pass, you no longer have to find your way in the back and up the stairs. You'll be able to do that from right in the check-in area. This also gives security a lot more visual a wider visual on what's happening on the floor of the check-in area. Yeah. You'll notice here in what we used to call the airline corridor, where the airline offices on both sides, we now have a canteen in that area. This was one of the big requests that the airlines used to ask us for, a location for their staff to eat that's not just in their offices. Yeah. Zoom in over a bit. I'll jump to this section first. We also, you may not be able to see it properly from here, but we also actually cut one of the airline office spaces from down in this area. I think the airline office spaces used to fall somewhere here, but that has also now been cut. This gives us more space, especially for queuing for the ABC kiosk, the automated border control kiosk that will come here. And even though there's less office space in this location, we'll have much more office space on level 2. So we actually won't be losing anything. Again, this is some of the renderings and location. In this general area, we'll have the check-in kiosk. And in this general area is where we'll have the baggage drop stations. We used to have, along the wall, we used to have the ticket booths, ticket counters. Those will return, but they will be redesigned and made to look a bit more in line with the general concept of the airport overall designs. I think we mentioned that the check-in counters has also been redesigned and redesigned. That picture you should be able to see in one of the previous sessions, but since we're here, I'll just jump quickly to what that looks like. So now you're able to pull open, airline agents will be able to pull open the counters, step in as you would, as if they're opening a door or half a door, and then close it behind them, seat and get themselves comfortable. Yeah, the computers and monitors will all be stationed here with the necessary outlets and cables. So it will all be integrated into the door or the check-in counter. Yeah, this is a similar system to what they have in Schiphol at the KLM check-in counters. At least that's where I saw them. Here again, you're seeing another image of the elevator that takes you up to level 2, takes the airline agents up to level 2. We had some comments about and some concerns about unwanted persons or passengers taking this elevator up to level 2. We do have procedures in line for that to ensure that only persons with pass are able to enter the elevator, call the elevator and go up to level 2. Yeah. So jump back to the PDF. Moving over, as I mentioned, this is the Flight Information Office and Airport Departure Fee Office, ADF booth. It's also redone and redesigned. And the elevator, here's where you see a good overview of where the elevator is. And on opposite side is where we have the ATM booths. Here you get a better visual of the door for the disabled passengers or yeah. We're moving over the food court location. A couple of things here that we want to point out. One of the big things here is that we'll have an extra concession space, extra location for concessions, and this is where we'll have positioned the tourist information counter for the tourist office. Again, the elevator that used to be here will be removed, along with the elevator shaft. And down here is the car rental boot. The car rental booths and the car rental space. So passengers will actually be walking from here after they pass customs and out in front of the car rental booths out to the meet and greet area. Now, this is a location that we have gotten some feedback on. So we're looking to see how we can adjust this as best as possible to ensure that this is a smooth flow. We also want to ensure that the shuttle bus and tour operators are also well accommodated in this space. So this general location will have to we continue to take a look at this and consider how we can improve it even more. But for now, this is the design that we have. A major update that I want to point out here as well is the BSO, or the Baggage Service Office. So if you remember in the past, if you travel and your bag didn't come with you for whatever reason, you used to have to come, well, average passenger, I mean, we who work at the airport, we know this one and we know that one, so we could kind of get away. But for the average passenger, when they come to the airport, they used to have to look to find and boot and hunt to find one of the agents or find one of the airline handlers to be able to look for their bag. So one of the major improvements that we were actually looking at just before Irma was how can we implement a baggage service office or a location where passengers would be able to come to address, where passengers will be able to come to for them to be able to find their bag specifically. And so this is what we have implemented, a baggage service office. So this is in the, this is in the, just on the meet and greet area on the side of the concessions, where they'll be able to come in, which should be open as long as the airline agents are here. They come in, they have the airline agents to attend, and in the back of that location is where we have the baggage storage for those bags. Yeah. I hope that this is clear, and I know that the airlines are very happy to have this new addition as well. There's a corridor here that comes back. If you're in the check-in area, especially for the technical teams, for example, and security, who need to gain access to the arrival area or the baggage reclaim area, you're able to walk in, get screened by security, and have entrance there. There is, in this location is where we had the first aid location, first aid office or first aid room. What you're not seeing here clearly outlined is this location will also have a shower. So aside from the toilet, this location will also have a shower. Zooming back out. I think those were all the changes here. So now we go to the sea gates area first. If you're at the sea gates, so this may be in better you'll probably be able to understand this in better context if you're on level 1 by the sea gates. You come down the stairs. We'll now have a whole room area for the sea gate passengers on the ground floor. Yeah, this was a big request as well from the airline handlers, especially Winair and the commuters, who had passengers come down the stairs, and we used to have them wait on the stairs. So now we allow them to come down, and this will be another whole room area for the Seagate passengers. I want to just explain, and I think I'll head back over to this side first. It gives you a better idea from the arrival passengers perspective. So we're all the way back over by the B gates, and then we'll work our way back to the arrival corridor. So we're zooming into the B gate section. This concession will return. If you remember correctly, Cafe used to be here, the second location for Cafe. And then we have the
Be careful with the names because we're not sure if Cafe is going to be the one there.
Oh, correct. Let me take that back. So a concession will return here. Right now, this is the area where we have open to enter into the package 1A area. That area will be reclosed, and a concession will return. Of course, the names and the exact locations will be still left up to the commercial department. But for now, this will be the area of we only identify areas where there will be concessions, and then the exact names of the locations, exact names of the concessions will be decided later. This area is now where we have the Gouda liquor stores. They're in this area. So these two areas will remain concession locations. Something that we changed already in the current setup, so package 1, we have this area here as a IT sub-core room, I like to call it. We have 3 areas throughout the entire building, so I'll just zoom out to point those out to you. So we have one area here where we were. We have another IT sub-core room in this area. And we have another one, hope I can find it now again. Behind where security is now, I think that's, I lost it.
Go back to your left. Go back to your left. Next to the counters.
Oh, here. Yes, thank you. This is the 3rd location where we have the IT sub-core rooms, and those will remain. The benefits of having these here, let me let Benson explain why we have the benefits of having these locations. Benson, you there? I saw you on the call earlier. Yes, I'm putting you on the spot.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm here. Excuse the chickens and the fowls in the background if they make any noise. So the benefits of having the sub IT rooms is shorter cable runs, because the 3 main IT rooms on the level 1 floor was over congested, and to reduce the amount of cables in those rooms, having sub rooms, that's the benefit, that in the event that we need to pull cables to another location, it is a shorter cable run, which reduce the amount of cables in any given IT room, which was much needed. So we appreciate that.
Joe, the project, we try to listen to our stakeholders, even the internal ones.
Thank you.
We're zooming back down to...
Benson, I didn't hear any chickens this time. Good job.
I put everybody on guard, chickens, dog, everything.
There's a change here as well. You're not able to see it on this drawing, but this...
Yeah, he can probably explain that one.
Oh, he's here. Okay. Santiago, you there? Cedro? Not hearing him. But in any case, this area has been redesigned. So this is the area that where the transit passengers used to get rechecked to enter into the B gates area and to be able to enter up the stairs. This area has been extended, so this wall has been extended slightly. You're not able to see it on this drawing, so I'm just updating you. So this wall has been extended a bit, and the screening machine will now be able to fit in this space. Yeah. This gives the passengers a bit more space. If you remember correctly, this used to be very tight for passengers and even staff when we're passing through during a walkthrough to be able to fit. This area has now been redone, so you have a bit more space to be able to maneuver. Moving along, this will be one of the, this is the space designated for one of the escalators. This is the B gate, I think this is A2 escalator. And under the escalator, we also found space for storage. If I'm not mistaken, this is one of the storage spaces designated for the wheelchairs and other airline material, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if Emil is on the call. Not seeing him. So moving along, I mentioned this space has been reduced already, IT core, sub-core room. Moving along, so passengers are coming, they're going through the immigration booths, sorry, the ABC kiosk, the automated border control kiosk, and passing through immigration. Again, I mentioned that the immigration booths will also be redone, so they'll now be directly facing the passengers. This area here, before we enter into the baggage reclaim area, we're going to go over to the A3, the A3 escalator, which is down here. And this area where we used to have the immigration office with the cell, this area is now redone. They'll have a manager's office or office space. And in this area, they'll have a general office space with a counter, which they can use for canteen, for example. This is the A3 vestibule where you come down the stairs and exit into the general arrival corridor. So that remains, of course. There'll be a space for the section head. Zooming in a bit, there'll be a space for office space. And one, instead of the cell that we used to have in this general area, we'll now have a holding area or waiting area for the inadmissible passengers. This was a major improvement as well, because we used to have complaints where the passengers who are inadmissible are not allowed into the country for whatever immigration issues and had to wait on a flight for them to return out. They were, the only real place that they had for them were in a cell, and that was not sufficient. So now we have them in a, we accommodated a nice waiting area, a nicer waiting area for them to be able to wait and hold. So this area has been entirely redone as well. Zooming back out. This area, one more thing I want to point out here in the corridor, arrival corridor, is the A4 escalator that comes down, brings you down into the arrival corridor. The sun, sand, and sea corridor, that's the colored glass that's here, that will remain. This is the A3 escalator, brings you again down into the corridor and takes you back to the arrival section. So now we're going to go back to the arrivals. We're going through the immigration officers, down the stairs or down the ramp, whichever you prefer. For transfer passengers, they can come here and get rechecked. This space has now been upgraded from 4 counters to now 5 counters, again with the necessary baggage belt system, of course. We also now have a concession space. So that concession space that's now there where Princess Promenade is, that space will now remain. Again, not entirely sure, not saying that Princess Promenade will be the one to occupy this space, but that will remain a concession space. A major update here is the baggage belt system. So the baggage belt system has now been redone. If you remember correctly, the baggage belts used to circle, come inside. All the baggage belts used to and still do, at least the ones that are still there, come inside, circle, and then go back outside and then come back inside again. This baggage belt system has now been redone, or the baggage carousel system has now been redone. So the bags come in and they basically, when the bags go around the loop, all the bags remain inside the building. So now the baggage handling agents can now go, if the bags are taking too long, or if no one claims the bags, they'll now be able to go take off the bags and store them where they need to store them. But all the bags now remain inside. Yeah. And then I mentioned the sea gates already, the change by the sea gates. And on exit, so the passengers will now, this is the general custom screening area. On a regular flight where customs will not be checking the passengers will exit through this location, past the vestibule, double glasses, so glass on this, double doors, door on this side, door on this side, pass through there, exit, buy the car rentals, and exit into the meet and greet area. If that's a flight where customs want to check or would like to check the passengers one by one, then customs would then route those passengers through these doors, have them check their bags, screen them at the different stations, and then the passengers will exit on this side. So again, if it's a non-check flight, passengers simply exit here. If it is a check flight, passengers will pass through this custom screening area before they exit. And I think with that, we cover all the changes on the ground floor and on level and in the basement. I'm curious to know if anybody was paying attention and was able to count all the changes. Nobody? Okay. In any case, this is the changes that we had. We're able to do the presentation in under hours, so we're very happy for that. This is all the changes that we have on the basement. Again, lots of changes. This is the changes that we have in the basement, some of the changes that we have in the basement. 4 major changes here. Again, the utility corridor will now be sloped, so water can easily drain to either side. The pipes will also be redone and redone and upgraded to Schedule 80. The water drain, I mentioned that. The bypasses during the piping as well, and of course the redone baggage system as well. And on level 1, on ground floor, level 0, numerous changes on the check-in side, more concessions, better use of the floor space, more facilities for the airline staff, redone security screening. Oh, I think one thing I forgot to mention would actually zoom in here was the head of state room will also come back, of course, and we'll look at how we can make better use of this floor space as well, redesigning the bathroom in the head of state room especially. Yeah, and then much more improvements for the passengers as well, the escalators, of course, the IT core rooms, sub-core rooms throughout the building, and the main floor space over here for the Seagate passengers, the redone baggage carousel, the baggage service office, which is a major improvement as well, and the car rentals. So those were all the changes that we have listed for today.
We missed Damien, and I was waiting for Justin to jump in to ask that question, but he didn't. In the in the makeup area, in the ceiling, we're going to be putting some vents so that in there it gets a little bit warm because of all the windows, all the slats on the top is closed down. We're going to be putting some vents which will draw fresh air into the makeup area to make it cooler in there as well.
Yeah. The other one is in there as well.
Okay.
So with that, we reach over to questions. You guys have any questions for us so far pertaining to all the changes and that we have on level 0 and the basement? Any questions?
I have a comment. Damien Benson.
Hmm.
If there's any vacant airport office space on the ground floor, just let me know. Just curious for IT matters. That's all.
Thank you very much, Benson.
There,
Check inside or airside?
we do have one office, Benson. Come check it and see what kind of money you're talking. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Benson, you want to be on the airside or land side?
Landside sounds nice. Oh, I answered what the purpose of the office space was. I didn't realize. Sorry.
Okay. So with that, I want to thank everybody for being here. Again, I want to jump to back to the presentation. We want to invite you on the 19th of May. On the 19th of May, we want to invite you down for a physical tour of the building. So you'll be able to see these locations physically. We'll be able to kind of point things out so you have a better visual of as to what those locations will look like. That's on the 19th of May. And then on the 2nd of June, we'll have another info session similar to this, where we'll discuss level 1 and level 2, point out some of the major changes there. I can tell you one of the major changes already is that we'll have much more space on level 2, much more office spaces on level 2, and on level 1, tons of changes as well, including a pet relief station. So that's those are some of the big highlights, including showers as well, and the business class lounge will also be redone, etc. Some of the things that you know already, some other things, more details we'll be able to get into. So again, we're looking forward to having you on the 19th. We'll send out our staff notice via HR, so you'll be able to be here. You don't need, you of course need your airport pass, and because we'll just be on the air side, at least on this side, on the non-construction side, we'll be able to just walk right in. Yeah. That was it for me today. Again, I want to thank everybody for being here and being a part of this. We look out for you on the 19th. And until then, be safe. Maitre, any closing words?
Thanks for your time, Damien, and thanks for everybody for tuning in.
Thank you. You guys have a good day further. Enjoy the weekend.